In the suffocating silence of primeval forests, where monolithic oaks choke the pale moonlight, an ancient dread is birthed. It does not herald its approach with the roar of a predator, nor with the sharp snapping of branches. Instead, it glides forward, a cold, clinging vapor rising from stagnant mires. Modern internet lore has christened them the Pale Crawlers, yet this contemporary moniker is but a modern shroud draped over an anomaly elder than the very soil of the earth. Recent accounts flooding the codex of digital forums converge upon a singular, horrifying truth. The crawler does not instantly seek to rend physical flesh. Its most malicious trait is its absolute, unturning gaze. It is the entity that only watches. Picture yourself within the warmth of an isolated cabin as torrential rain batters the glass. Suddenly, an atavistic register triggers along your spine, the cellular alarm of your ancestors screaming that your sanctum has been breached. Turning toward the window, framing the absolute dark beneath an old apple tree, you'll behold it, a towering, emaciated silhouette of raw, chalk, white, pallor. Its limbs are absurdly elongated, long-boned fingers grazing the damp soil. It does not shatter the glass. It does not scrape the sill. It merely stands, anchoring its empty, cavernous eyes upon your very soul. The terror that seizes your body is a perilous in liquid weight and existential absolute. This is not standard predatory behavior. It is an energetic harvesting. The abomination does not hunger for your red blood or sinew. It feeds upon the chemical distillation of your terror. In the absolute quiet, save for the violent hammering of your own pulse, a horrifying revelation takes root. Your fright is its sustenance. The longer you exchange visual lock across the fragile glass boundary, the more defined, heavy, and immediate the pale entity becomes. You're ensnared in a closed circuit of evolutionary nightmare, where each convulsing breath you draw pulls the white shadow one step closer to material realization. It is a silent war of human consciousness against the primordial void, and if panic is permitted to dictate your actions, the ancient shadow will claim your mind before it ever touches your throat. The secondary truth of the crawler forces us into the macabre disciplines of paleobiology and the chilling chasm of the uncanny valley. Those who survive the proximity of the abomination recall a singular, disturbing signature. Its locomotion is utterly bereft of natural animal grace, yet deeply alien to human movement. It represents an unstable biomechanical heresy, or what ancient grimoires defined as atavistic biomechanics. Imagine a physique whose joints operate in direct defiance of earthly nature. The elbows of the crawler hyperextend, both inward and outward with equal fluidity. Its kneecaps appear to float freely across multiple planes of articulation. Witnesses describe its sprint as that of a human attempting to mimic an arachnid, performing the action with hideous, disjointed, structural calculations. The sound it generates is unmistakable. A dry, splintering crackle, like ancient pines snapping under immense weight. This is not the debris of the forest floor yielding beneath its tread. This is the wet, hollow shifting of its own skeletal framework, popping and grinding within their sockets to instantly adapt to the terrain. Physically, their pale torsos seem completely devoid of recognizable muscle mass beneath the slick, hyper-translucent, white skin barren. Of any hair or pigmentation lies a grotesque architecture of bone. Every spinal vertebra protrudes like a jagged ivory wedge. Their rib cages flutter asynchronously to the rhythm of their silent, sporadic respiration. Scholars hypothesize that these entities possess a malleable physical morphology, an unstable bodily blueprint, invading our three-dimensional reality. They are forced to continuously reassemble their locomotor mechanics, shifting weight and lengthening their limbs up to twice their resting state to crawl down steep ravines. This is no mere beast of prey. To witness its approach is to watch physical anatomy rebel against the cosmic architecture of our world. Water is the cradle of life, so we are taught from infancy. Yet, for the pale crawlers, liquid is a bridge spanning the abyss between the subterranean kingdom and our cognitive reality. Spatial mapping of thousands of localized encounters reveals a terrifying geographical correlation. Over 70% of documented incursions materialize near aquatic margins, stagnant swamps, primeval riverbeds, abandoned irrigation channels, and most alarmingly, the colossal concrete drainage networks beneath interstate highways. Why is moisture so essential to their existence? The initial explanation is purely biological. The hairless, poreless, epidermal sheath of the crawler requires extreme continuous hydration. In dry atmospheres, their translucent skin cracks rapidly, weeping clear ichor. But there exists an infinitely colder strategic dimension. Water is the ultimate dampener of acoustics. The crawler utilizes rushing streams, the rhythmic drumming of rain, and the rustling of lake reeds as natural white noise. This hides the dry, splintering rattle of their shifting bone structures, allowing them to glide within breathing distance of deep forest campsites undetected. The massive subterranean drainage pipes beneath modern suburbs deserve singular focus. These hollow concrete veins stretching beneath our civilization serve as high-speed corridors. They crawl in the pitch black directly underneath our feet, while we sit in gridlock traffic. Their impossibly elongated fingers grip the rusty iron of storm drains along desolate roads. You might assume your headlights simply caught a discarded white plastic bag tangled in the roadside culvert. Look closer. If that shroud slowly retreats against the flow of the current, dragging itself into the lightless throat of the pipe, you have looked into the domain of the crawler. Do not pause your vehicle near forest streams when the twilight settles. The water does not sleep. Caution. We have arrived at the absolute vortex of our investigation. Let us designate this as the threshold of survival, the survival check. Suppose all warnings of the Apocryphal Bestiary were cast aside. You stand stranded, alone, within the midnight woodlands, by a black riverbank. The air is heavy with the scent of ozone and rotting reeds. Suddenly, out of the impenetrable thicket, a single, impossibly elongated, chalky appendage emerges. It does not wind up to strike. Instead, with agonizing, glacial deliberation, the 3-meter skeletal fingertips of the crawler descend onto the earth, anchoring themselves directly upon your shadow. Your vocal cords freeze. Existential terror commands you to run, yet intellect must govern. 3 routes unfold. First, take a sudden step forward, turning to confront the entity, locking your breath to assert dominance. Second, remain absolutely paralyzed, severing your internal will from your physical vessel, mentally relinquishing ownership of your body. Third, bolt with desperate velocity toward the river water, betting that the monster avoids making violent, echoing splashes. Which path preserves your heartbeat? Mark your selection. It dictates whether you hear the culmination of this archive, or if your name becomes another digit in the ledger of the vanished. The nature of the crawler is such that it does not register physical space as humans do. It tracks the light of human life. When its white hand intercepts your shadow, a direct link is forged. Run or fight, and you validate its claim. The resolution awaits at the absolute end. But answer now. Is your mind steel, or have you already succumbed? Deep within the dust-covered archives of Wisconsin, dated 1986, lies an official sheriff's report penned by Thomas Clay, marked internal use only. It documents an anomaly upon the Miller homestead, isolated near the Black Forest. For 3 agonizing weeks, their cattle had refused to enter the enclosures, letting loose low, unnatural bellows of pure distress. Upon checking the perimeter, Clay made a discovery that shattered his sanity. Every drainage canal flanking the pasture had been scrubbed clean of mud with surgical absolute precision. If dragged over by tons of smooth, wet white flesh, the patriarch, Eli Miller, swore under oath he beheld a pale shape crouched upon the peak of his high barn roof for 3 consecutive nights. It sought no entry. It simply sat on high, dangling its impossibly extended legs over the timber door, fastening its gaze on the animals trembling below. It had no visage, Clay noted, quoting the farmer. Only clean chalk, hide emitting a faint pearlescence under the stars, with 2 hollow holes. It swayed its long limbs to match the rhythm of the wind, mimicking the branches. When Clay approached with a spotlight, the creature did not flee in panic. It began descending the sheer vertical wood wall headfirst, dislocating its skeletal joints with a sharp, repeating crackle like thick river ice breaking underfoot. Clay fired his weapon 3 times. The rounds impacted the white mast with a sickening wet thud, yet the crawler did not slow. It slid into the lightless throat of the drainage canal without spilling a single drop of blood, leaving only the heavy stench of swamp gas and black moss. Sheriff Clay resigned his star 1 week later. Until his death, he never walked near running water. It stands as a terrifying proof that the crawler is no modern digital myth, but an ancient neighbor that was always there. In our digital epic of high technology, we seek comfort in the belief that monsters are only spawned upon smartphone glass. Anthropologists claim the pale crawler is a classic manifestation of a digital tulpa, a collective mental construct forged by millions of Reddit users, exchanging folklore, manifesting into a physical plane through sheer shared anxiety. We shape our executioners from fiber optic cable, yet is this the absolute reality? If we excavate the deeper layers of human antiquities, we uncover striking parallels. The archives of the Algonquin tribes speak of the faceless, spirits of the mire, spectral shapes with chalk-white hide that move to the rattle of dry breaking boughs. They stalked travelers near fast-flowing creeks, harvesting their shadows to bleed away their human vitality. Furthermore, in the ancient Slavic mythos, swamp dwellers were often rendered as impossibly emaciated, pale ghouls inhabiting the marsh, luring victims with the deceptive, soft splash of water. The modern web did not spark the existence of these crawlers. It merely equipped them with a global grid for information vectoring. The internet is the perfect conduit for this ancient contagion of terror. By sharing accounts of these pale shadows across the dark web, we are actively tracing new paths for them to advance. Every reading of this bestiary, every video rendered each, is a splinter of psychic energy the entity absorbs. They do not merely stand sentinel in physical forests. They have learned to stand sentinel behind the glass screen. As you darken your device tonight, look at the screen. That cold, black, reflective gloss is also a form of dark, standing water, and on its reverse side, a pale, bone-thin silhouette may already be waiting to stare back. And now, we unveil the resolution of the survival check. If the pale, multi-jointed fingers of the crawler have locked onto your shadow, the only correct path to deliverance is the second path. You must freeze, seal your eyes, and detach your human mind from your vessel. The crawler harvests your active resistance, your burning will. When you nullify your presence, slides back to the swamp. Any attempt to struggle or flee toward the water leads to an instantaneous fracture of sanity. The river current would but seal your demise, for they are the sovereign architects of the aquatic threshold. Today, we have drawn back the heavy veil sheltering the crawlers. But understand this, the Apocryphal Bestiary is a tome that remains forever agape. By closing this archive, you leave the doorway to the deep woods slightly unlatched. The next time you walk past a massive roadside drainage outlet, or look into the dark trees lining a forest river, lock your senses on the acoustic wind. If beneath the murmur of water you capture the unmistakable dry rattle of breaking bone, do not flee. Recall the ritual. Inscribe your survival selection in the comments below. Your digital ledger may keep another wanderer alive when the white-boned fingers intercept their shadow. Scribe your signature of subscription to the Apocryphal Bestiary. We preserve these hidden truths so that you may greet the rising sun. Look closely into the dark. The pale crawlers are already watching.